Welcome back across Nevada to Face to Face. In a few minutes, we're going to do reality checks on Kate Marshall's new ads in that special House election. But first, Nevada's housing market is beginning to see signs of recovery. But with the threat of higher interest rates, should the government default on bills, that recovery could be on shaky ground. Joining me to talk about it, the former director of the Nevada Association of Realtors, Forrest Barbee. Welcome back to the program, sir.
Thank you, John.
So you think it already has bottomed out?
Well, we've been watching the numbers bounce around the bottom for about a year now and going sideways. But we've had a lot of great activity in this last year. In other words, we're still at near record high numbers as far as closings and sales. Pendings are up, which is boding well. So there's lots of activity.
That's just because the value's gone out of everything, though, right?
In some parts, yes, but not entirely, because we've also watched a great shift. I mean, yeah, we're up about 26% in pendings, but about 63% in non-distressed properties compared to maybe 12.
What's the definition of a non-distressed property?
A traditional seller like you or I that's not upside down and we're not in a foreclosure.
So just regular sales.
Good old regular sales, which is making up about a third of our sales each month, and that's where we're seeing the big increase. So we're seeing right now a big shrinkage of the short sale. We're seeing some contraction, although a little bit more in the bank-owned properties are coming on, but they're managing those levels, so they're not going back up to highs. So we're doing very well in those areas.
Let's show people the numbers. The housing research firm Sales Track told the RJ Tuesday that home prices in Las Vegas hit bottom in the first half of this year. Median price of a resale home in Las Vegas dropped to $106,000 in June, down 13.8% from a year ago, but down only $200 from May and $900 from April. Existing home sales skyrocketed to $5,564 in June, the most since August 2005, though 45% of those sales were of real estate-owned or bank-owned homes. Sales Track reported. What does that mean?
Well, again, that's showing some of the recovery, because at one time we were 80% of our sales were those bank-owned properties. Maybe 10% were traditional owners. So now we've got a mix that's more like 48%, like you're saying, 45, 48%, 20% in that short sale. And again, a third of those sales are traditional.
But isn't it true? I'm wondering. There used to be this big discrepancy in the prices. It was up here and then down here. And now what we're seeing is it coming like this between the non-distressed and the regular sales. Am I wrong?
Well, if I take a look at single family and take out the condos and townhomes because they skew things for a lot of reasons, right. Typical REO average sales about 110, bank-owned property. Traditional sale averaging about 210. So there's about a $100,000 spread. And they're both closing at about the same amount of time with the same amount of activity. So we're seeing some good things happen there.
Are you just an optimistic guy all the time in your profession? I don't know if I trust you realtors. You're always optimistic, aren't you?
No, not entirely, because I agree with Dr. Miller. We probably won't see a default, because to me Congress has become the ultimate in the TV reality show with the last-minute heroics and things. But I'm more concerned about Standard & Poor potentially downgrading our bond or our credit rating for the United States from a AAA to a AA. And if that happens, we're looking at the same situation, maybe a 50 to 70 basis point change in interest rates. So your 4.5% loan is now maybe 5.2. The only good news there is that the treasuries, which are the 10-year treasuries, about 3, they go to about 3.15. So we would at least have more sales of treasury bonds to help fund some of our debt.
To talk about what's changed 2 years ago and a year, maybe even a year ago, Mr. Barbee, between cash sales and the percentage that are cash sales and mortgages. What's the balance now? What's the breakdown?
We're right around that 50% range when we look at the gross numbers as far as being cash sales. Again, that gets a little skewed, because if I look at the non-distressed or the traditional sales that are single family, because we have condos and townhomes that simply cannot be financed, so they have to be cash. But in this other arena, we're seeing about 36, 37% cash only, but we're seeing about 28 to 30% that are financed with conventional loans. So we are seeing financing in that equity market.
I guess the question a lot of people wonder about is, listen, prices were artificially inflated back during the boom. What is the real value, and when do we get there?
Well, now they may be artificially deflated through some of the appraisal practices. It's not the fault of the appraisers per se, but appraisal laws and things have probably caused a much more conservative approach. And I would estimate we may be as much as 15% below market value, just based upon the appraisal climate we had to suffer through.
We're never going to get back to the peak, though, are we?
No, I don't see that. So that's, but if we get back on the track of 2 to 4% appreciation a year, that's a good day.
All right, Mr. Barbie, always shining the sun in the studio. Always appreciate you're willing to come on. Thanks for coming
My pleasure, John.
When we come back, reality checks on Kate Marshall's ads in that big house race. The nation is watching. Stick around.